I never should have opened the freezer. Not because of what was in it. Steaks, frozen blueberries, even a damn pint of my favorite ice cream, perfectly sealed. No. I shouldn't have opened it, because that's when I knew. This cabin wasn't lost. It had been waiting for us. We weren't supposed to be this far in. 36 miles off trail, not a single blaze mark, no sign of logging roads or animal paths. For 2 days, we bushwhacked through thorn brush and snow-heavy pine just to get turned around by an unexpected ridgeline that shouldn't have existed. Rob's compass spun like a roulette wheel, and was sure we'd passed the same bent birch tree twice, once in the morning, once again just before dusk. No birds, no planes, no sounds at all. And then, as the last of the light drained from the treetops and our breath fogged thick and silver in the air, we saw it. Not in a clearing, not at the end of a path, just there. Like a thought someone forgot to erase. Bring a single-story A-frame cabin, pristine wood siding, windows fogged with warmth, no smoke from the chimney, no tracks in the snow. Just standing there, in the middle of nowhere, like it had been dropped from the sky. Rob was the first to laugh. Jesus, you think that's someone's hunting shack? M frowned. Hunting season ended 2 months ago. I didn't say anything. I was still watching the front door. The knob was gold, untouched, clean. We stood there too long. That part's important. We hesitated, like animals do before stepping into a scent they almost recognize. And then, without another word, we went in. The door wasn't locked. No creak, no resistance, just a gentle click. Inside it was warm, too warm. Not roaring fire warm, not radiator hum. Just the exact temperature you'd want to be after a freezing hike. The kind of warmth that seeps straight into your bones and tells you you're safe. That lie tasted good at first. The cabin's interior looked curated. 3 mugs, 3 plates, a heavy wool blanket folded neatly on each of the 3 chairs by the unlit hearth, a kettle resting on the stove, just starting to steam. No dust, no spider webs, nothing that said abandoned. Rob looked around. How long did you say this place was out here? I stared at the window. The snow outside was undisturbed. I didn't say. That's when Em opened the fridge. Her eyes flicked over the shelves, not in confusion, but in recognition. Okay, this is weird, she muttered. That's the oat milk I drink. Rob laughed. So what? Someone else likes oat milk. No, she said, quieter now. It's the same brand, the same flavor. This brand only sells in Quebec. We were in Montana. She picked up a jar from the door shelf and tilted it toward me. This is from my fridge. I wrote the date on the lid. Pal handwriting. Sharp E's, slanted R's. I knew it too well to deny it. Rob tried to joke again. That's how he handles things when the floor starts shifting under him. Maybe we all just share a really messed up coincidence. Then I opened the freezer. Blueberries, my brand. That exact pint of mint chip I'd bought 3 days ago and eaten half of while packing. Only I hadn't packed it. It had been in my fridge when I left. My fingers went numb, even in the warmth, and closed the freezer. Slowly, none of us said anything for a while. It was Em who found the guest book, tucked beneath one of the armchairs, like it had been waiting for someone to remember it was there. The leather cover looked hand-stitched, the edges worn with time. She opened it, eyes scanning the first few pages. Nothing. Then, her hand stopped. Her brow tightened. She flipped it toward us. The entry said, robbed him. Jace, March 15th. cabin is warm, food is good. No sign of the others yet. Probably tonight. It was written in Rob's handwriting. He hadn't touched the pen. He hadn't even sat down. Today was March 10th. We hadn't told each other what day it was. We'd joked we'd all forget by day 3. My voice cracked before I realized I was speaking. No sign of the others yet. We didn't sleep the first night. But we tried. Rob on the couch, Em in the bed. I took the chair by the door. The blankets were too clean. The pillows were too soft. Kept looking at the clock on the wall. Every minute it ticked forward. Every hour it ticked back. There's something wrong with the mirrors. We didn't notice it until morning. Not because they moved, or cracked, or did anything obvious. That would have been easier. No, it's worse than that. The mirrors in this cabin don't show reflections. They show versions. I woke up first, or I think I did. It's hard to tell anymore, because I never remember falling asleep. One moment I was staring at the cabin door, watching the clock tick forward and then back, and the next, it was morning. Gray light in the windows, coffee already brewing, but none of us had started it. Em was sitting at the tiny table in the corner, staring into the hand mirror she must have found in one of the drawers. Her face was pale, her breath was shallow. "Do you see it?" she whispered. I didn't answer. I just stepped closer and looked into the mirror over her shoulder. It was her face. Same eyes, same freckles, but the woman in the reflection looked older, just slightly. Tired, like she hadn't slept in days, like something had drained the color from her skin and left her hollow. And behind her, behind us, the cabin was different. No firewood stacked, cabinets open, scratches on the walls, and a shape standing in the doorway. Impossibly tall and narrow, its head just barely tilted sideways. Then she blinked, and it was gone. The mirror showed only us again. Only now, I wasn't sure that was a comfort. Rob didn't believe us. He always needs something to touch, something to break. "This is just cold paranoia," he said. "We're snow-lagged, dehydrated, and we stumbled on someone's weird off-grid Airbnb. Big deal." But he didn't argue when the fridge showed him 6 cans of the exact beer his dad used to drink, the one they stopped making in 2009. And he didn't have a comeback when he opened the pantry and found a picture of himself taped inside. As a kid, maybe 6, covered in mud, holding a frog in both hands. It was a photo he didn't remember being taken. Rammed the pantry shut and hasn't opened it again since. I stepped outside. Just for a minute, I had to see if the world still worked. It didn't. The sky was the wrong kind of blue. Too pale, too uniform, like it was painted on. The tree line looked farther away than it should have been, like it had stretched back while we weren't looking. And the snow wasn't snow, at least not entirely. I bent down and brushed some aside. Underneath the top layer was something softer, padded, fibrous, like insulation, like cotton batting from inside a stuffed animal. I touched it, and it breathed. I ran back inside. I didn't say anything. I just stood at the window, watching the woods breathe in and out, like a sleeping animal pretending to be still. Em came over and leaned in beside me. "You noticed it too," she said softly. I nodded. She put her hand against the window pane. "It's not outside." "What?" She turned her head slowly. "The woods, the cabin, everything out there. I think we're inside something else." That night, we found the second guest book. It in a drawer in the desk, smaller, torn pages, the writing cramped and erratic. Only one entry wasn't crossed out. Ike 2, it's copying us, not perfectly. Just enough. I think if we stay, it'll finish. There was no signature. Just a smear of something black at the bottom of the page. Not ink, not blood. Something like ash and oil. Rob threw the book into the fire. It didn't burn. The kettle whistled again. We hadn't touched it. The radio turned itself on. Only static. Until we heard someone, my voice, whisper, "We're not guests, we're replacements." Then it clicked off. We agreed to leave at sunrise, if there even was a sunrise. The clock said 6:12 a.m., but outside it was still night. A flat, unchanging gray-black sky with no hint of color. Not dawn, not dusk, just absence. Rob was already packing, heavy boots on, layers zipped. A hat he swore he didn't bring, but it fit him too well to question. Em stood by the door, arms crossed, holding the mirror again. She hadn't spoken much since yesterday, but as Rob twisted the handle, she said quietly, "Don't open it yet." He froze. "Why?" I asked. She held up the mirror. "Because they're already here." There were 3 figures standing outside the cabin. They weren't us, but they could have been. One looked exactly like Rob, but taller, leaner, with a strange curve to its spine, like it was folding in on itself. The second figure looked like me. Same coat, same boots, but its face was expressionless, blank, like it hadn't finished deciding what it wanted to be. And the third, it wasn't Em. It wore her face, but the eyes were wrong, wide and wet and hungry. They didn't knock, they didn't speak. They just stood there, waiting. We moved away from the door, locked it, blocked it with the couch. The figures didn't react, but the house did. The lights flickered, the radio hissed back on. The kettle began to scream again, steam curling from its spout, but this time, the water inside was black. Outside, the snow began to rise, slowly, not falling from the sky, but pushing upward from the ground like breath in reverse. The Castaval let out a low groan, deep in its bones, and the mirror in Im's hand cracked straight down the middle. "There's more than one covenant," Rob whispered. "What?" "Think about it. The journal said replacements, copies. What if this isn't the only one? What if we're just in our version, and there are others?" He walked over to the fridge and opened it. Inside, instead of food, was a small wooden box we hadn't seen before. He took it out, opened it slowly. Inside was a Polaroid. Us, the 3 of us, sitting on the cabin floor, eyes wide open, mouths agape. We were dead in the photo, mouths stretched, eyes frozen, skin pale. Underneath the photo was a note, scrawled in childlike handwriting. "You have to switch places before they do." I opened the window slightly, not enough to let anything in, just a crack to feel the air. It wasn't cold anymore. It was warm, muggy, like breath. And from somewhere deep in the woods, I heard my own voice call out, "Hey, wait up. You guys left me." It was my voice from last summer. I remembered it exactly. A hike we'd taken. I'd been joking when I shouted it, but hearing it now, from the mouth of whatever was outside, made my stomach flip. I closed the window, latched it tight. Em hasn't stopped watching the mirror. Not since it cracked. She says it doesn't show versions anymore. Now it shows choices, scenes, things we could do. In one image, she saw herself smashing the window with the kettle, running into the woods, barefoot, screaming. In another, she sat calmly by the fire and smiled as something tall and eyeless stepped from the shadows and placed a hand on her shoulder. She said in both visions, "We don't make it out. Not really." Rob's outside now. He opened the door without warning, just said, "I think I get it now," and walked past his doppelganger down the trail. None of the copies followed. They didn't need to. They watched. Em and I locked the door again, moved the couch back, sat in silence. The cabin feels smaller than before, and now there's a fourth coat hanging on the wall, identical to mine, but I didn't bring it. And I'm not sure how long we've actually been here anymore. It started with a draft, then the draft became a hum. Then the hum became a voice. Not loud, not spoken, but present, like a sound you feel in your teeth. It pulsed through the floorboards, rode the pipes in the walls. I couldn't understand it at first, but my body did, every nerve on alert. A silent primal scream stitched into my spine. Em heard it too. I could see it in the way she blinked, slow and wrong, like her eyes weren't syncing with her breath anymore. We didn't talk about it. We didn't need to. Awesome all. The cabin was trying to say something, and part of me wanted to know what it was. At exactly 2:07 a.m., the same time the power came back on, the cabin door opened on its own. Not swung, not creaked, it glided, like it had been waiting for just the right second to breathe in. And outside, the snow was gone, replaced with tall, dry grass, stretched flat under a moon that didn't belong in our sky. Orange, pulsing, with something moving slowly across its surface. There was no wind, no stars, but the path was clear, a trail of footprints. Our footprints, leading away from the porch, into the field. "I don't remember walking there," I said. Em didn't answer. She was standing too still. I stepped toward the doorway, just 1 foot over the threshold, and suddenly I felt the air shift. Like the world outside this cabin was painted, and if I touched it the wrong way, it might peel back and reveal something worse beneath. I closed the door. It latched itself. We checked the fridge again. The Polaroid was gone, replaced by something else. A cassette tape, no label. Next to it, a small hand mirror, identical to M's, but pristine. She picked it up and whispered, "It's clean again." Then she turned it over and written on the back, in neat cursive, "If you're reading this, it means you chose the house. We didn't remember choosing anything. But that's how this place works. It lets you forget, until you can't anymore." The radio came alive again. Not static this time, breathing, rhythmic, human, like someone just inches from the mic, lungs moving slow and deep. Then, very faintly, a voice underneath. "She's not Em. Not anymore. You know that, don't you?" I turned to look at her. She was smiling, but her eyes weren't looking at me. They were fixed on the empty hallway behind me. I asked her to say my name. She said it wrong, just off enough that I knew. Like a stranger trying to wear a friend's skin. "I'm cold," she said, but the cabin was warm now, almost too warm. Sweat dripped down my neck. She reached for the mirror, the old one, the cracked one. It didn't show her reflection anymore, just mine, standing alone. I slept for an hour, maybe 2, or maybe I didn't sleep at all. When I opened my eyes, she was gone. So was the couch, so were the footprints. But the house was full of photos now, taped to the walls, hung from the ceiling, tucked into the spaces between the floorboards. All of me, sleeping, sitting, but never blinking. And in one photo, one I don't remember being taken, I'm standing on the roof of the cabin, smiling. Behind me, something tall is climbing out of the chimney. The floor creaks constantly now, even when I'm not moving. There's breathing in the walls. One too many sets of lungs. And the door won't open anymore. I tried the window, but it looks out into the same room, over and over again. Infinite cabins, infinite me's. Some screaming, some smiling, and in every single one, I'm the only one left. I woke up inside the mirror. Not metaphorically, not dreamlike, physically inside it, or something like it. Everything beyond the glass was distorted, foggy, as if I were submerged in cold water looking up through ice. The cabin was still there, but reversed and alive. It breathed. The walls expanded with each slow, heavy inhale. The floor curved upward. The light bulbs pulsed like blood vessels. And behind the glass, I saw me. But it wasn't me. It wore my shape, my face, even smiled the same lopsided way I do when I'm nervous. But its eyes were wide open. No blinking, no breathing, just watching and waving. I banged on the glass. I screamed. The thing mimicked me perfectly, except for one thing. It mouthed something different. Stay. And then it stepped back into the cabin, free. That version of me walked around like it belonged, looked through the drawers, put on my jacket, sat where I had sat the night before. It even laughed when the radio crackled on again. "Don't worry," the voice whispered through the static. "We never take someone who isn't already empty." And that's when I realized them had never come here, not really. The thing I saw, that walked and smiled and carried her voice, it had just put her on like a mask. Maybe the real Em never left the woods. Maybe she was still in the mirror too. The cabin started collapsing, not with splinters or cracks, but with silence. Sounds vanished, one by one. My heartbeat, the hum in the lights, the breathing walls, even my own screams, gone. Until the only thing left was that other me, now standing in front of the mirror again, placing one hand gently on the glass, and whispering, "Your turn." I woke up outside, in the snow, alone. The cabin was behind me, boarded up, buried in frost and time, and in my pocket, the cracked hand mirror. Only one reflection in it, mine, but sometimes, just sometimes, if I hold it too long, my reflection stops moving and watches me. I hiked out 3 hours later, covered in bruises I didn't remember getting. They found me near the edge of the tree line, wandering in circles. The local ranger said the cabin hadn't existed for 50 years. Turned down in '79, he told me. But people still see it, the ones who get too far off trail. Sometimes they even bring things back with them. He nodded at the mirror in my hand. "Careful with that." I asked him why. He just said, "Because it might start remembering you." I keep it hidden now, taped shut in the back of my closet, wrapped in towels, wrapped in prayers. But last night I heard it fall to the floor, and when I picked it up, it wasn't cracked anymore. And it didn't show me, it showed the cabin, waiting, with the lights on. A note on the table that said, "We cleaned it for you."